for a lot of us, it's hard not to jump right in when somebody we love is struggling. And I agree with you that we're limiting them. We're feeding into their limitations when we do that because we don't let them learn and grow and struggle.
Expanding possibilities, the mindset zone.
I'm your host, Anna Melikian, and before we start with today's show, please remember to visit mindset.zone. Yes, instead of .com, it's .zone. There you can find all the episodes and other amazing resources, all at mindset.zone.
Expanding possibilities, the mindset zone.
This episode is an interview originally recorded on Kogan, the Mindset Game podcast. Vered is an extraordinary coach and speaker who focuses on helping entrepreneurs, organizations, and individuals tap into the power of human performance and potential. Now, let's go to our conversation.
Welcome, Anna.
Wonderful to be here.
Thank you for joining us. My heart is full of gratitude for you being here because I know that you have a wealth of experience in this area, given your own training and also from the podcast, which is, by the way, for those of you who don't know, a brilliant, wonderful podcast, over 500,000 downloads so far and growing, featured in the Huffington Post as one of the 15 podcasts that will absolutely leave you pondering life's big questions, and also reach #1 in iTunes, new and noteworthy. Really just a wonderful acknowledgement to the work that you have done in this area and the value that you give to your listeners.
Thank you.
So Anna, would you be willing to share maybe a little bit more about your background, about you, so that we get to know you a little bit?
And how people can notice as soon as I open my mouth and pronounce a couple of words. I was not born here in the United States, but I live in Phoenix, Arizona at the moment. And originally I'm from Portugal. So my background is in psychology. And when I moved here to the United States, I decided to reinvent myself for many reasons. And building on all my background in psychology, I decided to become a life coach and then a business coach. And what I do nowadays is that helping coaches, consultants, speakers, and trainers really to have a presence online that generate more clients and amplify their impact. That is really the important thing.
And thank you for sharing that. And as someone who's participated in your programs and has actually been coached by you in the past, I know that you are wonderful at what you do, and you just have a big heart, as well as, of course, an expertise in what you do. So share with us a little bit about what you love to do. What do you do when you're not working?
That is when I'm not working. So I love my work, and my tendency is something that comes from many, many years ago. By tendency, I'm a workaholic. So the good thing is that I was clever enough to always pick areas of work that I love. So it's almost the hobby becomes the work and the work becomes the hobby. So it makes things fun. But of course, I'm also very grateful for my family and the family and friends. So when I'm not working, I'm spending quality time as much as possible with my family. And I have a daughter that she's 11 now, so I know how fast they grow. And they used to tell me that, but now that I'm living it even more, I want to really treasure the time that I have with her, the conversations that I have with her. I love to walk with her and my husband and my little dog. We love to go for a walk, to spend time outdoors in this beautiful Phoenix, Arizona, when the weather is good. And then for me, a good evening will be a great dinner with nice food, a nice red wine, and a wonderful conversation.
Thank you for sharing that. It's really nice to get a little glimpse into your world. So, since this is a podcast about mindset, as is your podcast around mindset, I want to jump right in to first of all asking, what does the word mindset mean to you? And why is it important that people become more aware of their mindsets?
Mhm. So, the definition of mindset, I think that is always an important question because it's one of those words that we use a lot nowadays. It's almost like a very common in the online world mainly. But I think if you ask to 10 people, you are going to have 10 different definitions of what mindset is. And some people are going to go, even when mindset is something very important for them and for their lives. The way that I see it is really almost what is the frame through which you are seeing the world. Like the glasses. I love the metaphor of the glasses that you put to see the world. And the reality is that we have different glasses for different situations. We have the reading glasses, we have the sunglasses, we have the ones to help us look near and far away. So I think we have different mindsets. I prefer the plural of the word to the singular because we have different frame of reference depending on the context that we are, that frame the way that we see and live in our world.
Thank you. And why is it important that people be aware of those lenses that they're seeing the world through?
Because those lenses give a certain color, a certain angle that is part of our humanity. Everybody would say there is no, even if we go back to our eyes, we have a lens in our eyes that we are very aware when people have cataract, some eye problems, they really realize the importance of that lens that live within our eyes. So I think we only can see through a lens. But being aware of the lens through which we are seeing allow us to be more flexible and to develop their lens.
Yes. And how does that ability to develop the lens and to be flexible, how has that served you through your ups and downs in life, maybe setbacks that you've experienced from your own personal experience?
It's a great place to, I like to see and give a little bit in terms of the way that I work and see the world, my mindset and my frame of reference here. I think I like to see, if you imagine a triangle, I like to see one corner of the triangle is our mindset, the way our thoughts, the way that we see the world, our worldview. Another corner of that triangle is strategy, how we plan, how we see the big picture of things. And the third corner of the triangle is what we do, is the implementation, it's the feet on the ground, so to speak, make things happen. And I think the mindset is a great place to be before we do a strategy, for instance, because it determines the flavor of it, determines the way that we see the world also has to do with our values. And we want to develop a plan for business or personally that is congruent or in alignment with our values. And then we want to execute, we want to implement that plan as better as we can, but again, keeping with the mindset, with our worldview and your values as much as possible. So I see that three things connected, and the mindset for me is a very comfortable place to be because I love to be analyzing and thinking about and being aware of my thoughts. So it's one place that when we work as coaches with other people, that we are helping them see things from different perspectives and amplify their possibilities, allows them to have an insight that really produces a chain reactions of many amazing changes. But at the same time, because it's so powerful when we are in certain points in our lives that through the magic of coaching, of being working with a coach, that the coach help us to see things from a different perspective, to shift our mindset somehow, that suddenly everything starts to make sense and things start to happen. That is incredibly powerful. And at the same time, sometimes we are so stuck in some mindset that we have to change the doing, the implementation of stuff somehow. Sometimes it's just go and walk in nature for something to happen from that action that allows our mind to shift a little and to start to see more stuff. I don't know if this makes sense. So for me, I love mindsets. I'm passionate about mindset. I think it's so powerful, the mindset work. And at the same time, is that why I'm not putting, I like the triangle, not a linear model, because the starting point can be any of it. But the three things are important, in my opinion.
I think it's brilliant, and it does make sense to me. And I'm curious, what can happen in organizations, for individuals, perhaps in your own life, when we don't pay enough attention to that mindset part of the triangle?
It is almost like a stool that has three legs, and if one leg is shorter than the other, I think, and that applies to the rest. If it's just mindset and there is no implementation, or if it's just mindset and there is not a solid strategy or plan. So the three things, in my opinion, have to be in balance. Mm-hmm. And if there is not mindset work, then is also how can we make sure that we are exploring all that is possible there?
Yeah. And a lot of people that are listening to this podcast today are going through change in their life and maybe, going through a really hard time. Maybe a lot of emotions flowing through them and a lot of fear. So what would you suggest for those of us that are going through some obstacle? How can we take a look at that corner of the triangle and strengthen our mindset, if you will, to get even better results?
And I think that is a great question, because the time that we are doing this recording, and depending when people are listening, I don't know exactly what is going to be happening at that time. But at the time that we are recording, we are in the COVID-19 is happening, all these crises in worldwide. That I think is going to define this 21st century in many different ways. But I think it's a great example of a situation that we can have the best, oh my gosh, in the online business world, we always in the beginning of the year do, and 2020, what beautiful number for planning the year ahead to make this is going to be a 2020 vision, a 2020 going to be great. And we have all the plans, all the strategies. And if somebody's not in business, in personal life, you will have your plans, you will have your vacations plans, whatever it was, maybe a wedding, maybe whatever it was, or going to college or leaving college, everybody had some kind of a plan that suddenly by circumstances was interrupted. I mean, the best plan and strategy in the face of this planet, but didn't foresaw this coming. That now we are asked to stay put, stay home, and now what? And that is where the mindset can help us of, yes, we can go to a reactive way of thinking. And it's normal that with so much uncertainty, so much volatility, we don't know exactly what is going to happen. So it's difficult to remain positive, and it's natural to be negative when there is a crisis. And we can be a little bit mad, a little bit sad, is normal, and it's part of our emotions. And I think we have to recognize that and allow them to express somehow. But after, if we stay just there, I think for me is limiting. So how can I see this? What are the glasses that I have at my disposal that allow me to see this from different perspectives, that allow me to see a way forward, or a way, at least, of spending the time in a way that I feel is more productive, or to make, if life gives you lemons, to make that the lemonade. And there are circumstances in life that we didn't ask for it, we didn't deserve it, but they happen. And I always go back to think about Viktor Frankl, that I know that you also admire a lot of the Man Searching for Meaning book and the logotherapy movement, that he was a survivor of a concentration camp in the Second World War. And I cannot imagine circumstances that can be worse than that. And thank God he survived, not his family. His family, parents, wife died, all there. But for me, if he could see the positive in humanity, if he could see the positive in his life, if he could believe that people could be good and could find a meaning even in these incredible circumstances, there has to be a way that I can see a little bit my circumstances the best possible. It's not a miracle cure, but for me, gives me hope.
Yeah. Yeah. And how can we help people to put on that pair of glasses that can look at things through that meaning lens and find beauty, find love, find humor in such dire circumstances?
Sometimes one of the most powerful tools that we have is just listen. And I'm learning that the hard way by being a mother. A mother that has the tendency to be a fixer in. So in the other day, I was seeing with my daughter, we were seeing a documentary about kids and about teenagers and parents and so forth. And one of the scenes of this documentary was an experiment that they had, a mother and the kid, the child, and the child had to do a puzzle, I would say solve a puzzle. And the instructions to the parents was the parents should not intervene. And they solving a puzzle that is difficult for the kid and will be easy for the parent. And what they are measuring is the physiology of the child that correlates with anxiety of the child. As soon as the parent intervenes, the anxiety level of the kid goes up, even if they solve the puzzle. If the parent manages to keep fulfilling the instructions or not intervene, even when they don't manage to solve the puzzle, yes, there is fluctuation of their anxiety, but they are okay.
Wow.
And that for me was, oh my gosh, because my daughter has a problem. My first thing, okay, how can we solve this? And what I decided to do, and what was happening was that every time they say, okay, let's solve this, and I gave my brilliant suggestion, I don't like it. That will not work for me. And now, after seeing that and realizing that, I just go, okay, so you have that problem. Okay, can you tell me more? Be more in the listening mode. Be more, okay, not run to fix it, not run to try to offer the solution, and let her find. I can ask her questions that can lead her to think things in a different way, but just by asking questions, not for offering suggestions. And it's not that what we do in coaching so often.
Yeah. I was going to say that lens of curiosity, which a lot of us, some of us trained coaches, it's a little bit easier to manage that because we've been trained. But, for a lot of us, it's hard not to jump right in when somebody we love is struggling. And I agree with you that we're limiting them. We're feeding into their limitations when we do that because we don't let them learn and grow and struggle.
Yeah.
So thank you. Oh my goodness. And I totally resonate with that as totally 100%. So thank you for that reminder. So what were, out of the many episodes that you have done of the Mindset Zone podcast, what were some of your favorite nuggets of wisdom or, tools that you received? What really stands out for you from all those wonderful conversations that you've had?
For me, and is the thing, I love to pick a concept that, even a concept that, for instance, in the mindset world, everybody loves. And most of the time, I agree with it. And deconstruct it. So break it in little pieces, and then put it back together and see it in different perspectives. Because, for instance, the need to focus will be an example. And I did a couple of podcast episodes about that. Yes, it's very important to have that ability to focus and focus in a task and to implement. And in the business world and in our life, it's a really an important skill. Totally agree. But sometimes it's also equally important to unfocus, to let it go, to let our mind go in many different directions, to the daydream, because sometimes the big insights happen that way. So there is also the need to unfocus. That is what my thing about the mindset zone is, will be that space where we are like, for our fitness physically, what we do some kinds of physical exercise, or we go to the gym, or we walk, or we run. In terms of our mind, everybody say, yes, this is important, but where are the spaces for us to have that playground like you are doing with for that game of just playing with concepts, just playing with different perspectives and experiment and see things and create that flexibility, their resilience, their strength that only comes from that playing with it. It's almost like mindset workout. We are working out our mindsets and allow it to be more flexible, allow to strengthen some muscles, allow to see different, and then we are more ready when life happens. Because yes, reading books is important, seeing inspiring movies is important. There are relationships, everything is important, but I love the intentionality of doing something that is to exercise and creating flexibility on the way that we see the world.
Wow. And I agree with you based on what I've studied. And I'm curious, what advice can you give to our listeners about how to do that, how to unfocus?
And that goes back to one of the questions that you asked, what you do besides work. Because work is, yes, focus, as is important also to, and each person will be different. Yes, meditation is a great way to unfocus. But for some people can be a meditation that is listening to a tape or just focusing on the breath. And other people, still one of my favorite ways of meditating is by doing yoga with some movement, because allows me to be more in a zone, because my body is doing something and I think I keep my intellectual part occupied. It's easier to get into the flow by movement for me than sometimes by just being still. But I also train the being still in the meditation. But there is not one way or the other. There are so many different ways. Let's try, experiment, and find what works best for us.
I love that. And that's that element of play and curiosity and exploration, because there is no right, best way. It's whatever works for us. Sometimes it might be even music, or sometimes it might be showing kindness to someone that we love, or even a stranger. And there's so many ways.
Or a long shower.
Yes.
Or a walk, or a hobby like gardening, be a little bit outdoors, or I used to do photography, that anything that, or even something, I like the Rubik Cube.
Oh, yes.
There is formulas online on how to solve the Rubik Cube with logarithmics. And I love to learn some of those and do it, because it's funny how our brain then is very focused on that. But then you can release it to be and focus in other things. So play with it. Bring that element of play, so important.
Wow. So I'm curious to know if there is anything from your own personal experience where you were maybe at a low point, where some of our viewers are right now, especially with the health and financial crisis that's going on, something that has helped you to look through that different lens and be able to see the world in a different way, that you can kind of share the gift with other people?
I hesitate here because my personal life, and I think everybody, when we live certain amount of years, we always have something that was difficult in our lives. And for me, a relatively recent one was I had cancer diagnosis. And I had to go over cancer treatment and all those things. And this is a scary thing. It's, thank God with the medicine nowadays, the prognostic is good and all of the things. It's amazing what the evolution that we have. But it's still one of that words that scares. Okay, having cancer is not for, it's a tough thing and treatment and everything is tough. But I think I hesitate in bringing that up because I think even people that never dealt with something like that, we always have obstacles that we have to face that can be extremely difficult. And for me, the question is, while we still breathe, means that we have the opportunity to do something about it. And even if I go back my teenager years, that everything seems so big and so drama-like and all of that. But the reality is that if we learn to take things one breath at a time, I think makes things, okay, I can do this. Okay, one step at a time. Okay, what is the next small thing that I can do? If we are going through pain or something like that, for heart pain to physical pain, okay, can I just focus one breath at a time? Can I just focus in one positive thing? And again, it's something that really pays off training and not waiting when things are bad for us. Oh, I should think positivity now. Because when things are everything bad happening, yes, we can start, but it's more difficult. If we train that muscle, for instance, gratitude, that nowadays we speak so much about gratitude, people have, but are we practicing it every day? Are we doing, and just a story about that, and again, going to the challenge of being a mother. For me, gratitude is extremely important. Positivity is extremely important. Because, for instance, that was the cancer diagnosis. One of the big questions is, what do I want to teach to teach to my daughter for her in the future, that she can always be with her forever. And gratitude and positivity was out in the top there for me. But it's tough on the teenager when they start to go to the teens. They are very negative. Many of them, in general, have a bias to the negative. And I try different things, from the journal in the evening to things, but never step. But one of the things that I'm so happy that, so I decide at dinner, I like to have the dinner family. We are sit down, starting at the same time. Even the dog will wait until everybody starts. And instead of a prayer, we start with a gratitude, something that we are thankful or grateful during the day. Is how we start our meal. And in the beginning was a struggle. In the beginning, okay, you have to think something positive. I was almost pushing, and even my husband, he was, okay, I'll do that for you because I love you, but I do. And now, maybe we are doing this now for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. Now, in the other day, my daughter did my day because she started, because sometimes it's like pulling with a cork that you are taking out of the bottle. Now she has pleasure of trying to tell all the gratitudes that she thinks that I'm going to say and they're going to say, because one of the rules is not to repeat the same thing.
Oh my goodness, that's brilliant.
Something small, but something different, for not the same, to be the same one for the three of us. So she loves the thing about thinking about what during the day happened, and to be telling, oh, this, that. Oh, we have the new refrigerator. We had, we gave Puffy the doggy a bath. So all the things, and then like she's saying, and now what do you have left?
That's awesome.
Oh,
that's brilliant.
For being, I would say this is the practice in the beginning, stuff, but it pays off. So I'm so proud and happy about that one.
Yeah, that is awesome. And the fact that there is that fun and humor and, kind of playful energy around the table, I'm sure brings a lot of ease and, more joy and connection. So that's just brilliant. Wow. And I appreciate that you shared that it was a process to getting there, because sometimes we start stuff like that. I know I've started some things like that, and and there's resistance. And then at some point you're like, okay, forget it. It just takes too much energy. But I appreciate that you stuck with it. And that kind of inspires me to go back to a practice like that and really stick with it, because there is a lot of value. Yeah.
Oh.
So thank you. Wow. Well, Anna, I'm so deeply, deeply grateful for you being here with us today, because there's so much richness to your own life story. I love how you kind of sprinkled little things from your own life, and, how you as a coach also show up, because I think there's a coach inside all of us. There is a listener inside all of us. And I think that when we can practice that and really kind of use those muscles, it'll be easier to show up more and more like that, and to feel connected and have more meaning, as you said, in our life. So again, thank you so much for being here, for your time, and for our viewers. Of course, if you like this podcast, subscribe, but also I invite you to subscribe to Anna's podcast, and you'll see information below, her contact information, but also a link to the podcast, because it is transformative. There's a good reason why it reached number 1. And I truly believe that you will learn a great deal. So Anna, thank you again. I'm so deeply grateful. And I wish you and your family all the best in the world.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Follow Vered Kogan's podcast by searching for The Mindset Game. You can find these and other links on the show notes.
Expanding possibilities. The Mindset Zone.
Thank you for listening, and remember to visit mindset.zone. Yes, instead of .com, it's .zone. There you can find all the episodes and other amazing resources, all at mindset.zone. As always, I'm so grateful you are here. Expand what's possible for you, for the ones around you, for the world.